The night sky above Earth looked normal at first. Stars blinking like small eyes in the darkness, the moon calm and quiet as always. But then, without warning, something strange appeared. It was not a shooting star, not a meteor, but a shadow. A shape so big that even the satellites in orbit went silent. People around the world stepped out of their homes, pointed their phones at the sky, and whispered in fear. Something was coming, and it was not from Earth. At first, only a few people noticed. Farmers in open fields, soldiers watching radar screens, children looking out of windows late at night. Then the silence broke. Sirens screamed in cities. Military jets launched from runways. News channels flashed red banners. Unidentified objects above Earth. The entire world looked up, and the entire world was afraid. The objects were not small. They were massive ships, dark as night, hanging above the atmosphere like floating mountains. They blocked out the stars. Their size made Earth's own aircraft look like insects. No message came, no greeting, no warning, just silence. For hours, people waited. Presidents, generals, scientists, priests, all of them asked the same question. What do they want? In the United Nations Hall, leaders argued. Some shouted for peace talks, some shouted for war preparations. Fear spread faster than reason. No one trusted anyone else. Was this the end of humanity? Or was it the beginning of something greater? Finally, after 3 days of silence, the sky changed. The biggest ship, the one hovering above the Atlantic Ocean, opened a glowing circle. A voice came through, not in one language, but in every language at the same time. People in every nation understood the same words. It was as if the universe itself was speaking. The voice was deep, proud, and cold. It said, "We are the royal family of the Orion Empire. We rule over 1,000 worlds. We come to Earth not as enemies, not as friends, but as sovereigns. You will listen because you have no choice." The world froze. For a moment, nobody spoke. In homes, people dropped their cups of tea. In bunkers, generals clenched their fists. In classrooms, children stared at the ceiling with wide eyes. Humanity had dreamed of aliens for centuries, but no one had dreamed of this. The voice continued, "Among your species hides a rare gift. In your bloodline lies the key to our dynasty's survival. You humans carry what we need. The Orion Empire demands tribute, not your gold, not your weapons, not your cities. We demand your bloodline. You will offer chosen men and women, and they will belong to us." Gasps echoed across Earth. People shouted at their screens. The broadcast did not stop. The voice grew sharper, like a king commanding his servants. "Refuse us and your world burns. Obey us and your species lives under the protection of the Orion crown. This is the decree of the royal family." Then the signal ended. The ship stayed silent again, watching Earth like hunters watching prey. Fear turned into chaos. In the streets of New York, London, Beijing, Cairo, people ran and shouted. Some cried in terror. Others cheered, thinking this was destiny, that humanity was chosen for something higher. Governments held emergency meetings, scientists tried to understand the demand, and military leaders moved nuclear weapons into secret positions. On television, experts argued. Was this real or was it a trick? Was the royal family lying, or did humanity truly carry something rare in its blood? Nobody knew. But one thing was clear. Earth had only two paths ahead: surrender or resistance. In a dark room inside the Pentagon, a general whispered, "If we surrender, we are slaves. If we fight, we may all die. Which path do we take?" No one answered. In a small village in Africa, an old man looked at the night sky and said softly, "This is the day our stories become truth. The sky gods have come." Children around him listened in silence, their faces pale with fear. In Tokyo, a scientist stared at genetic data on her screen, wondering what secret humans could possibly hold that an empire of 1,000 worlds could not find elsewhere. Her hands shook as she realized something. If the aliens were right, humanity was not just important, it was essential. And in hidden corners of the world, men and women with dark hearts saw opportunity. They whispered, "If the aliens want humans, maybe we can sell them. Maybe we can gain power." The world was no longer the same. The night sky was no longer a place of peace. Above Earth, the alien royal family waited, and below, billions of humans faced the question that would decide their future forever. Would they give away their bloodline, or would they fight for their existence? The silence after the broadcast was heavier than war. Everyone knew the demand. Everyone knew the threat. And everyone knew the aliens would not wait forever. The first move was Earth's to make. But whichever choice humanity took, nothing would ever be the same again. The world waited in silence after the alien message. 3 days passed, but the giant ships did not move. They hung in the sky like dark crowns, watching, waiting. People tried to return to their normal lives. But every glance upward reminded them of the truth. The Orion royal family was above them, and Earth was no longer free. Governments sent signals begging for talks. Scientists sent coded beams of light hoping for a reply. Religious leaders prayed, asking the heavens if this was Judgment Day. But no answer came. The ships stayed quiet, their glowing edges shining like eyes in the night. Then, on the 7th day, the silence broke. A new broadcast filled the air. It came not only on television, not only on radios, but directly into human minds. Everyone on Earth heard the same voice, clear and commanding. The voice said, "People of Earth, hear the decree of the royal family of Orion." Images appeared in the sky, projected for all to see. Great palaces of crystal and steel floating in space, thrones made of glowing metal, tall figures wearing robes of silver and crowns of living fire. The alien royals did not hide their power. They wanted Earth to see it. The voice continued, "We are rulers of 1,000 suns. Empires bend their knees before us. We do not come to destroy. We come to claim what is rightfully ours. In your blood lies a secret strand, a rare spark of life unknown in all the stars. Your kind has carried it in silence, unaware of its value. But we know. We have searched for centuries, and we have found it in you." People trembled. In houses, families held each other tightly. In bunkers, soldiers gritted their teeth. In temples, prayers grew louder. What could humanity have that a galactic empire needed? The voice became sharper, like a blade cutting the air. "The Orion dynasty faces extinction. Our blood weakens. Our line fades. Without renewal, the royal family will fall and our empire will crumble. But you humans, you carry the cure. In your veins flows the key to our survival. We demand your tribute. We demand your bloodline." The images shifted. Now the sky showed lists of names, faces of men and women from every corner of Earth. Young and old soldiers and teachers, farmers and leaders, chosen by alien design. The Orion family had already decided who they wanted. Panic spread instantly. Some of the chosen screamed in fear. Others fainted. Families tried to hide their children. Governments rushed to protect their citizens. But the message was clear. Earth could not choose who to give, because the royal family had already chosen for them. The voice pressed on. "These men and women will be taken to Orion. They will be joined to our dynasty. Their children will carry both your blood and ours. Refuse us and your world will be burned to ash. Accept us and your species will live, protected under the Orion crown for eternity." A heavy silence followed. For a moment it felt like the world had stopped breathing. Then the chaos began. In New Delhi, thousands ran into the streets, chanting that humanity must fight, that no one should be given away like cattle. In Paris, protesters carried signs reading, "We are not tribute." In New York, crowds stormed government buildings demanding answers. But not everyone resisted. In Moscow, some leaders whispered that maybe this was destiny. In hidden chambers, powerful men said, "If Earth joins the Orion dynasty, we gain power, wealth, and technology beyond imagination. Why should we fight what we cannot defeat?" And in the shadows, another group rose. Traitors who wanted to sell out the chosen. They whispered names, made secret lists, and offered them to alien envoys for promises of reward. The United Nations called for an emergency session. Inside the Great Hall, the debate grew furious. Some nations shouted for surrender, saying humanity could not win against gods. Others shouted for war, saying humanity's freedom was worth any sacrifice. The walls shook with anger. No one could agree. One leader, an old man with tired eyes, stood and said, "If we surrender, we are no longer human. If we fight, we may die, but we remain human. Which path is better?" His words echoed in the hall unanswered. Meanwhile, scientists worked day and night searching human DNA for clues. Was there really a secret hidden inside? Why did the Orion royal family need it so badly? A young geneticist in Tokyo stared at her computer screen, her face pale. She whispered, "If they are right, then humanity is the most valuable species in the galaxy." But her discovery brought no comfort. It only made the fear worse, because value meant danger, and danger meant war. The broadcast ended as suddenly as it began. The alien voice faded, leaving behind only silence and the glowing ships. The royal decree had been given. The demand was clear. The threat was real. Above Earth, the Orion ships drifted like predators circling prey. On Earth, billions of humans wondered if tomorrow would be their last day of freedom. And in the middle of this storm, the chosen few stared at their own faces in the sky marked by destiny, trapped between fear and fate. The decree was not just a command. It was a chain, binding Earth to the will of the royal family. A chain that could only be broken with blood. The royal decree shook Earth like an earthquake. For the first time in history, all nations faced the same enemy. Yet instead of unity, division spread like fire. Humanity stood at a crossroads, but each path led in a different direction. In the cities, people filled the streets. Some carried banners demanding peace. Others shouted that humanity must resist. And some darker voices whispered that serving the Orion royal family might bring wealth, power, and safety. The world was no longer divided by borders. It was divided by fear, by hope, and by greed. In Washington, the president gathered with advisors. If we resist, millions could die, one general argued. If we surrender, we lose our freedom forever, another shouted back. The debate turned into yelling, fists slamming against tables. Every leader wanted answers, but none existed. The Orion ships hung in the sky like silent judges, waiting for Earth to choose. Across the ocean in Beijing, the council met behind locked doors. Some wanted to prepare the army for war. Others wanted to open secret talks with the aliens. If we surrender first, one minister whispered, perhaps Orion will reward us. Perhaps we can rule the rest of Earth in their name. His words spread like poison. Even in the highest halls of power, betrayal was taking root. Ordinary people were no less divided. In Paris, a teacher told her students, we must resist. Humanity's story has always been about freedom. But in Cairo, a merchant told his family, let us not fight giants. If tribute saves us, then tribute must be given. Across villages, towns, and cities, voices clashed, turning neighbor against neighbor, but the greatest fear of all fell upon the chosen. Their faces had been shown in the sky during the decree. They were marked, hunted by fate itself. A soldier in Brazil, once a hero to his people, now found himself chased by crowds. Some wanted to protect him. Others wanted to hand him over to Orion, hoping the aliens would spare their town. A young scientist in Japan, terrified by the attention, hid in an underground lab. A diplomat in France begged his own government for protection, but even guards whispered about giving him up. Everywhere the chosen lived as fugitives, caught between admiration and betrayal. They were symbols, not people anymore. Symbols of humanity's possible future. Slavery, alliance, or war. The world's religions also split. Some leaders declared the aliens demons, a final test for mankind. Others said they were angels, deliverers of destiny. Churches, mosques, temples, and shrines overflowed with people begging for answers. But heaven remained silent. Meanwhile, secret groups began to rise. Some called themselves the Defenders of Earth, promising to protect the chosen and fight Orion. Others formed the Council of Order, a shadow group that believed surrender was the only path to survival. Rumors spread that the council was already talking to alien envoys in hidden meetings, offering lists of names, offering loyalty in exchange for safety. The chaos touched even families. In a small village, a father begged his son to hide because his DNA had been marked, but the boy's uncle whispered to the neighbors, promising to reveal his location in exchange for food and gold. Blood ties broke under fear. In the United Nations, the arguments reached a breaking point. Leaders pounded the table, shouting louder than ever before. One voice cried, "We must fight." Another screamed, "We must kneel." A third said, "We must negotiate." The hall became a storm of words, but no agreement came. Humanity was no longer one people. It was pieces of a puzzle breaking apart. Yet in the shadows, something else was happening. Scientists uncovered fragments of alien signals, strange codes hidden within the decree. They realized the Orion royal family was not as united as they seemed. Factions inside Orion were fighting each other, and humanity's bloodline was the weapon they needed. This secret spread quietly among certain leaders. If humans played their cards right, perhaps Orion's weakness could be used against them. But sharing this knowledge was dangerous. If traitors learned the truth, they would hand it directly to the royal family. And so humanity's greatest war began not with weapons, but with whispers. Whispers of betrayal, whispers of rebellion, whispers of survival. On a rainy night in London, a young protester shouted into a crowd, "We are not slaves. We are not cattle. Humanity is worth more than tribute, the crowd roared with him, voices echoing through the wet streets. But across the city, another crowd shouted the opposite. Obey Orion, save Earth, sacrifice the few to protect the many. Police struggled to hold the two groups apart, but fists and stones flew and blood painted the streets. Above them, the alien ships continued to glow, patient and silent. The royal family did not need to fight yet. They had already achieved what they wanted, humanity divided against itself. But in the chaos, a small spark remained. The chosen began to find each other, hidden in safe houses, moving across borders under secret protection. Soldiers loyal to freedom, scientists hungry for answers, and ordinary people brave enough to stand against fear began to gather. The Orion royal family might have divided humanity, but in that division a new bond was forming, a resistance. Still, the danger grew closer. Every hour, betrayal spread. Every hour, the demand of Orion hung heavier over Earth. And as the chosen looked at one another, they asked the same question that all of humanity whispered in the darkness. Which side will win? The chains of surrender, or the fire of freedom? The world was already breaking apart, but when the faces of the chosen began to appear again in alien broadcasts, everything grew worse. The Orion royal family no longer spoke in long decrees. Now they showed names, images, and even locations of people they demanded. These humans were not generals or kings. They were ordinary souls, yet they had been marked as the most valuable blood. One was a young scientist from Tokyo, a woman who had studied human genetics all her life. Another was a soldier from Brazil, a man who had survived countless battles. A diplomat from France, a teacher from Egypt, even a child from a small African village. Each one appeared in the glowing lists. The royal family had already chosen them, and nothing could erase their names. For the chosen, life turned into a nightmare. Crowds followed them wherever they went. Some people tried to protect them, building shields with their own bodies. Others tried to hand them over, hoping to earn favor with the aliens. In some cities, mobs formed, pulling chosen people from their homes not to harm them, but to push them toward the skies as gifts. Fear had erased reason. The scientist in Tokyo hid underground, working by candlelight as her laboratory had been surrounded by those who believed turning her in would save Japan. Her hands shook as she wrote notes, whispering to herself, "If I can find the truth in our DNA, maybe we can understand why they want us. Maybe we can fight." But she knew time was running out. Every hour, drones patrolled the skies, scanning for her presence. The soldier in Brazil, once proud of his medals, now moved through the jungles like a hunted animal. He could hear helicopters overhead, not human ones, but alien machines shaped like insects, their wings glowing red in the night. The local villagers tried to hide him, but betrayal always lurked. More than once he escaped by seconds, leaving behind burning huts as alien drones punished those who dared protect him. The diplomat in France, trained in words and compromise, found himself locked inside a secret bunker under Paris. Guards stood outside his door, but he could not trust them. Some whispered about the reward Orion promised, and he wondered every night if one of them would open the door and sell him for glory. His speeches had once moved nations. Now his words could not even move the men with guns beside him, and the child, the youngest of the chosen, was hidden by her family deep in the deserts of Africa. She was too small to understand why strangers hunted her. She only knew her parents were afraid, and that men with strange weapons stood outside their home at night. The aliens had named her blood as royal essence, a term that sent chills through every human heart. Why would a galactic dynasty want a child? As the chosen scattered across Earth, something else began to form. Secret networks rose, built by those who believed the chosen must be protected. Soldiers without nations, scientists without universities, rebels without flags. They created safe houses, escape tunnels, and secret codes. They called themselves the Veil. Their mission was simple: hide the chosen until Earth could decide its future. But the Veil was not alone. A rival group hunted in the shadows, loyal not to Earth, but to the Orion royal family. They called themselves the Heralds. They believed humans were destined to serve Orion, and they sought to deliver the chosen as tribute. To them, betrayal was loyalty, and loyalty to Earth was foolishness. Every night, battles erupted between the Veil and the Heralds. Sometimes in alleys, sometimes in forests, sometimes in plain sight of the world. The chosen became pawns in a secret war, a war hidden under the larger fear of alien conquest. Meanwhile, governments remained divided. Some nations secretly helped the Veil. Others secretly fed names to the heralds. Trust dissolved. No leader could be sure if their ally was truly an ally, or if they were already speaking to Orion envoys behind closed doors. But despite the danger, the Chosen began to find each other. The scientist met the soldier through a hidden channel, their voices shaking as they spoke across continents. The diplomat received secret letters from others like him, words of hope smuggled past guards. Even the child's family found a way to send a message to the Veil, a message that said, "She is safe, but for how long?" Each Chosen felt the weight of the world on their shoulders. They had not asked for this fate, yet their blood had become the center of the galaxy's storm. The scientist realized her work might reveal the secret hidden in their DNA. The soldier knew his strength might one day shield the others. The diplomat dreamed of one chance to negotiate with Orion face to face. And the child, she carried a mystery none of them understood, a mystery that made the royal family's demand even more terrifying. Above Earth, the alien ships still floated, silent and patient. They did not move. They did not fire. They only watched. The royal family was waiting, certain that fear would drive humans to deliver the Chosen willingly. But on Earth, a new question rose in whispers. What if the Chosen were not just targets? What if they were humanity's last chance? The royal family believed they had selected pawns. But in the shadows, the Chosen began to see themselves as something more. Not victims, not tribute, but perhaps, just perhaps, heroes. The fate of humanity no longer belonged to generals or presidents. It belonged to the few whose blood carried secrets older than empires. And as the stars glowed cold above, one truth grew clear. The royal family had made a mistake. In choosing these humans, they had lit the spark of resistance. The world could no longer pretend that peace was possible. The royal family had named their tribute, and humanity had no answer. Nations argued, families fought, cities burned with protest and fear. But in the shadows, away from the endless noise, something new began to rise. Humanity was breaking, yes, but it was also waking. It began with whispers. A scientist in Tokyo sent an encrypted signal to allies in Europe. A soldier in Brazil contacted old comrades, men and women who still believed in honor. A diplomat in Paris used secret codes to reach hidden channels. And slowly the Chosen began to link with one another, carried by a network of loyal protectors who called themselves the Veil. But even beyond the Veil, ordinary people had grown tired of waiting for leaders to argue. Engineers in abandoned factories built weapons in secret. Hackers in dark rooms struck at alien systems, searching for weaknesses in the Orion broadcasts. Farmers smuggled food to hidden safe houses. Students painted the walls of cities with messages of defiance. We will not kneel. The resistance did not have one leader. It had many. Each cell acted alone, but they shared the same dream: freedom. For the first time since the alien decree, hope returned, fragile but burning. Yet the royal family was not blind. Their envoys, tall and silver-skinned, walked in secret among humans, guided by traitors known as the heralds. These envoys whispered promises: wealth, safety, power. And for every person who joined the resistance, another betrayed it. Humanity's war was not just against Orion, it was against itself. In a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of an old European fortress, a gathering took place. Scientists, soldiers, hackers, and even one of the Chosen sat together, the air heavy with tension. Maps of Earth covered the walls, filled with red pins marking Orion's ships and blue pins marking safe houses. The soldier, scarred and hardened, stood first. We cannot wait. Orion is patient, because they believe fear will do their work for them. If we delay, we lose. We must strike now before the heralds hand over the Chosen. The scientist shook her head. No, we don't even understand why they want us. We need answers before we fight. Their power is greater than anything we know. Blind resistance will only get us killed. The debate grew fierce, but the diplomat finally raised his voice. His words were calm but heavy. Listen, we are not fighting for victory in one battle. We are fighting for survival. If even one of us remains free, humanity remains free. Orion may have ships, but we have something greater. Will. The room fell silent. For a moment they were not divided. For a moment they felt like one. From that meeting, the resistance took its first true shape. Hidden fleets of old ships were pulled from secret bases, repaired with stolen parts. New weapons were built, strange hybrid machines mixing human engineering with fragments of alien tech stolen from Orion drones. Hackers worked night and day, attacking Orion signals, searching for cracks in the Empire's armor. But the most dangerous mission was given to the Chosen themselves. They would not only hide, they would lead. Their blood was the reason Orion came, and so their blood would be the weapon Orion never expected. The scientist began decoding fragments of alien transmissions, and she found something terrifying. The royal family's DNA was collapsing. Their lineage was too pure, too inbred. They needed humanity's diversity to survive. The Empire's greatest strength, their ancient bloodline, was also their weakness. The soldier began training small groups in guerrilla warfare, teaching them to fight like ghosts. Do not meet them in open fields, he said. Strike from the shadows. Make them bleed, make them doubt, make them fear us. His lessons spread across continents, turning farmers and students into fighters. The diplomat used secret channels to reach out to other alien species under Orion's rule. Some were too afraid to speak, but a few whispered promises of support. If Earth resisted, maybe others would too. Maybe Orion's empire was not as unbreakable as it appeared, and the child, the youngest of the Chosen, became a symbol. Her face, hidden by the veil, appeared on posters across the world with 3 simple words beneath it: protect the future. The resistance was still small, still fragile, but for the first time humanity was not waiting for Orion's next move. Humanity was planning its own, but danger grew closer. In South America, a Veil safe house was betrayed and alien drones stormed it, capturing several fighters. In Asia, hackers were discovered and burned alive by Herald loyalists. In Europe, an entire resistance cell vanished, their signals cut mid-message. Orion's patience was ending. Above Earth, the royal family finally stirred. Their ships opened once more and a new voice filled the sky. Your time is almost over. Tribute will be taken. Those who resist will suffer. Those who kneel will be rewarded. Decide quickly, for our mercy fades. The broadcast ended, but its meaning was clear. War was coming. Yet in that dark hour, the resistance grew stronger. Because fear could divide, but it could also unite. Across the globe, humans whispered a new phrase to one another. A phrase that spread like fire through the night. We are the Bloodline now. The royal family demanded humanity's bloodline. But instead, humanity was preparing to become something greater. A force that even an empire of 1,000 suns might fear. The resistance was awake. And it would not sleep again. The night sky was no longer calm. The Orion ships, silent for so long, finally moved. Their black shapes cut across the stars like blades. Lights flared along their hulls, brighter than suns, and beams of fire poured down toward Earth's skies. The royal family was done waiting. Tribute would not be requested anymore. Tribute would be taken. Across the world, alarms screamed. Fighter jets scrambled. Missiles launched and cities prepared for the storm. But against ships the size of mountains, Earth's weapons looked like sparks against iron. Explosions lit the clouds, and yet the Orion vessels did not fall. Still, humanity fought. Resistance cells triggered hidden weapons, blasting drones out of the sky. Hackers launched their most dangerous code, crashing alien signals for precious seconds. Soldiers fought in the streets using shadows and ruins to ambush Orion patrols. Every human who could lift a hand became a fighter, and the world turned into a battlefield. The Chosen were at the heart of it. The scientist, hiding in a secret underground chamber, worked furiously on her discovery. She had found the truth. The Orion bloodline was collapsing, their DNA unraveling like a dying flame. Humanity's diversity was the cure, but it was also the weapon. If she could twist the code, she could make humanity's bloodline not just valuable, but deadly to the royals. Yet she whispered to herself, if I release this, it could destroy them. And maybe us too. Her hands shook as she typed. The soldier led a team through the Amazon jungles, striking at alien bases hidden in the trees. His voice was steady, his eyes cold. They think they are hunters, he told his squad. But tonight we make them prey. Explosions shook the forest as his fighters brought down a massive drone, its wreckage crashing into the river. But for every victory, more enemies came. Waves of machines and armored soldiers with silver skin and cold eyes. In Paris, the diplomat stood inside a burning city. He had managed to open channels with rebel factions from other alien species. For the first time he heard voices not from Earth but from distant stars, voices whispering, "We too suffer under Orion. We will rise if you rise." His heart burned with hope, but also fear. If the Orion family discovered these talks, they would slaughter entire planets in revenge. And far away, hidden deep in the desert, the child sat with her family under the protection of the veil. She was silent, her eyes brighter than ever, as if she felt the war not with her ears but with her blood. She whispered to her mother, "They are afraid of me." The words chilled everyone in the room. Why would an empire fear a child? Unless she carried something even the royal family could not control. Above Earth, the clash grew greater. The Resistance launched its secret fleets, old ships reforged with stolen alien tech. They were small compared to Orion's armadas, but they moved fast, striking and vanishing like shadows. For the first time, Orion's ships burned. Humanity cheered as one massive cruiser collapsed in flames over the Pacific Ocean, crashing into the waves like a dying god. But victory was costly. Cities fell under alien fire. Millions fled, leaving ruins behind. The heralds, traitors loyal to Orion, guided aliens through hidden tunnels, betraying safe houses. In South America, an entire resistance cell was wiped out after betrayal from within. The royal family smiled from their thrones, knowing fear was still their sharpest weapon. Then, something happened that even Orion had not expected. The scientist completed her work. She had built a code hidden in DNA, a weapon of blood. If released, it could spread through chosen humans and infect the royal family itself. Their strength would become their weakness. But she trembled, because this weapon was too powerful. It could kill Orion, but it might also change humanity forever. She sent a signal to the others. "The choice is ready, but it must not be made by me alone." The soldier received the message as he wiped blood from his hands in the jungle. The diplomat read it while standing in smoke-filled Paris. The child heard it in her mind as if the signal was inside her veins. The chosen were bound not just by fate, but now by the power to end a dynasty. The royal family, sensing danger, unleashed their most terrible weapon. A colossal warship descended, larger than any city, its shadow swallowing entire countries. A voice filled the skies again, deeper and sharper than before. "Enough games. Your world is ours. Your blood is ours. Kneel or burn," but Earth did not kneel. In ruined streets, people raised their fists. In broken skies, pilots flew straight into alien fire. In the dark deserts, farmers carried rifles on their shoulders. And in hidden bunkers, the chosen prepared for the moment when one decision would decide the fate of two species. The battle was no longer about survival alone. It was about bloodlines. Orion demanded it. Humanity had twisted it into a weapon. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see whose blood would rule the stars. Above Earth, fire lit the heavens. Below, courage lit the hearts of men and women. And in that storm of war, humanity discovered something the royal family had forgotten long ago. Empires can command, empires can threaten, but empires can also fall. The clash of bloodlines had begun. And neither side could escape without scars. The world was burning, skies glowed with fire, oceans boiled with wreckage, and cities lay in ruins. The Orion royal family's fleets covered the heavens like an endless storm. Their voices filled every mind, cold and merciless. "Your blood is ours. Your world is ours." Yet Earth had not surrendered. Across shattered continents, men and women still fought. Small groups rose from the ashes. Farmers turned into warriors, students turned into spies, mothers turned into leaders. Humanity had nothing left but courage, and courage was enough to keep the fight alive. Deep underground in a hidden chamber, the chosen gathered at last. The soldier, scarred and weary, leaned against the wall, his rifle still warm from battle. The scientist placed her trembling hands on a console, the weapon of blood glowing on her screen. The diplomat stood tall, though smoke and grief filled his eyes. And the child, silent and watchful, sat in the center, her gaze sharper than any sword. The scientist whispered, "It is ready." One signal and the Orion bloodline ends, but once released it cannot be undone. It could destroy them, and it could destroy us. The soldier clenched his fists. "Do it. Better we all die as humans than live as slaves." His voice was steel, but his eyes betrayed the weight of his words. He knew the price. The diplomat shook his head. "If we kill them all, we may doom the galaxy. Their empire may fall into chaos. Millions of other species could suffer in the fires of war. Perhaps we must find another path. His words carried wisdom, but also doubt. Could mercy exist in a war of extinction? The child finally spoke, her voice calm, almost too calm for someone so young. They fear us because they see the end of their line in us. Maybe the end is not death. Maybe the end is change. Her words silenced the room. For a moment, the war outside felt distant, as if all of Earth held its breath, waiting for these few souls to decide its fate. Above them, the royal family spoke again, their voices like thunder. Time is over. Tribute will be taken, kneel or perish. The chamber shook as a massive blast struck the ground above. Dust rained from the ceiling and the walls trembled. The scientist's finger hovered over the console. One press and Orion would fall. One press and humanity would decide not just its own future, but the fate of 1,000 worlds. The soldier looked at her and said, "If you wait, we die." The diplomat stepped forward. "If you strike without thought, we all die." The child whispered, "If we choose wisely, we live." And so the choice was made. The signal pulsed. But it was not destruction that left the chamber, it was transformation. The scientist had altered her design at the last moment, weaving the child's words into her work. The code would not only end the Orion bloodline, it would merge it with humanity's, binding two species into one future. Above Earth, the royal family felt it instantly. Their thrones shook, their veins burned, their crowns flickered with dying fire. Panic filled their voices. "What have you done?" But it was too late. The chosen blood carried through the signal, rewriting the dynasty itself. No longer pure, no longer untouchable, the royal family was forced to share their crown with the very species they had sought to enslave. On Earth, silence fell. The alien fleet stopped firing. The great warships drifted, their weapons dimmed. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like lightning. The Orion family has been changed. The humans have risen. For the first time, the royal family did not command. They pleaded, "You have bound us together. You have broken our purity, but if we fight now, both of us fall. Choose humanity. Do we stand as enemies, or as one dynasty?" The world trembled on the edge of history. The soldier wanted to spit at the sky, to curse them for every life lost. The diplomat closed his eyes, knowing the galaxy might collapse without balance, and the child looked upward, her voice carrying the weight of all humanity. "We will not kneel, but we will not destroy. If we rule together. No crown is pure. No blood is pure. The future is mixed and it belongs to us." The Orion fleet slowly withdrew, not defeated, but transformed. Their banners no longer showed only alien crowns, but now the symbol of two bloodlines woven together. The Empire would never be the same again. On Earth, survivors stood among the ruins, weary but unbroken. Humanity had not surrendered. Humanity had not been erased. Instead, humanity had forced the galaxy to change. The resistance disbanded, not because the fight was lost, but because the fight had already been won. Farmers returned to fields, scientists rebuilt their labs. Children once again played beneath skies no longer filled with fire. Yet the memory of war, of blood, of choice would never fade. The chosen remained symbols. The soldier, the scientist, the diplomat, and the child, ordinary people who became more than themselves. Their names would be written not only in Earth's history, but in the stars. And somewhere beyond the ruins and beyond the silence, the galaxy whispered the same words again and again. Humanity is not tribute. Humanity is destiny. The final choice had been made, not to kneel, not to destroy, but to rise.